Have you ever tried meditating and just felt kind of lost, like you're wandering around in this huge inner world, but you don't have a map? You're not sure where you're going or if you're even doing it right. Well, in this explainer, we're going to look at a pretty unique and powerful method that's designed to give you exactly that, a clear path, a kind of GPS for the mind. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with a problem that a lot of people run into. Then we'll dive into what's called the pointing out style and the philosophy behind it. From there, we'll check out the practical tools, the GPS, and talk about what it takes to find a qualified guide. And finally, we'll look at the ultimate goal of this whole thing. So first up, let's talk about a surprisingly common snag, one that even the most serious, dedicated meditation students can get caught in. I mean, really think about it for a second. Have you ever practiced something and you're putting in the time, but deep down there's this little voice asking, am I doing this right? Is anything even happening? If you felt that, you are definitely not alone. And this is where you can really see the issue. The traditional Tibetan retreat format with just a few instructions and then hours of silence. It worked great for centuries in that specific culture, but for a lot of us in the West, it just led to years of confusion, total uncertainty, just sitting there, waiting for some lightning bolt to strike. The big insight here was that maybe the problem wasn't the students. Maybe it was the teaching method itself. Okay, so if the old way was leaving people in the dark, what's the solution? Well, that brings us to a totally different approach to teaching, one that tackles this problem head on. And here it is, the pointing out style. See, this isn't about leaving you to figure it out on your own in silence. Not at all. It's an active, guided journey. The teacher is right there with you, step by step, pointing out what to look for, how to work with what's happening, as it's happening. Think of it less like a lecture and way more like having a personal trainer for your mind. And this quote just nails it. This was the advice given to Daniel Brown, and it's brilliant. He was told, look, Westerners already have a model for growth that they get, that they trust. Therapy. It's a partnership, it's relational, so why not use that same model to teach these ancient practices? It's the perfect bridge. But for any method to really stick, it's got to have a solid foundation, right? So let's look at the core beliefs that really make this whole approach click. So it all rests on three really big ideas. First, and this is so important, it starts with the belief that everyone, and I mean everyone, has the built-in capacity for awakening. It's not just for some special few. Second, the goal is crystal clear from day one. It's not fuzzy. We're aiming for awakening, not just feeling a little less stressed. And third, the whole thing is super pragmatic. If a technique works and gets results, it's in. If it doesn't, it's out. Simple as that. And I've got to stress this point. We're not talking about your average mindfulness app here. While reducing stress is a nice side effect, this approach is aiming for something way, way bigger, a profound and total transformation of consciousness. Okay, so we've got the philosophy. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual tools that make this a GPS for the mind. The first big principle is what's sometimes called spoon feeding, and I mean that in the best way possible. Instead of vague, poetic instructions, students get a super detailed step-by-step map. It totally eliminates the guesswork. You always know exactly where you are on the path and precisely what the next step is. And this is what that GPS is made of. The practices are interactive and guided, not silent. Right from the start, you're trained in metacognition, which is just a fancy word for learning how to watch your own mind work. And the support doesn't just stop when the retreat is over. Plus, it even pulls in tools from Western psychology to help you get past any personal roadblocks you might hit. So does it work? Well, the results are pretty stunning. Decades of data show that with this kind of clear, direct instruction, about a third of students, 1 in 3, actually have a direct recognition of awakened awareness in their very first retreat. That's just a remarkable success rate. Now, because this method is so hands-on, so relational, it means the guide is everything. So what does it actually take for a teacher to be truly qualified and someone you can trust on this kind of journey? So a qualified teacher isn't just someone who's read a bunch of books. It's a whole package. Their motivation has to be a genuine desire to help people. They need to have a stable, 24/7 personal realization of what they're teaching. They need deep, deep knowledge. They need the raw talent to communicate it clearly. And maybe the most important of all, their character, their daily life has to line up with the teachings. It's a rare combo, for sure. This quote from Daniel P. Brown himself just cuts right to the heart of it. What he's saying here is that authentic teaching, what's called the Dharma, can't come from the ego, from the personality. It has to flow from that awakened state itself, through the guide. And this brings up a super important distinction. In this tradition, the teacher is not a guru on a pedestal that you have to worship. They're a skilled guide, a compassionate partner. Their number one job is the student's well-being, and they're actually bound by a kind of contract of spiritual duties.
All right, so we've got the structure, the guide, the detailed map, but what's the whole point? What's the end game here? Let's explore the really profound aim that drives this whole thing.
And let's be crystal clear one more time. The ambition here is so much bigger than just managing stress or feeling a bit calmer during the day. The stated goal is nothing less than this. It's bold. The goal is to help create Buddhas in the West, to help regular people achieve full, stable, enlightened realization, and then to embody that wisdom and compassion in their lives for the good of everyone. And this quote from the great philosopher William James is kind of the ultimate reality check. The true measure of any spiritual path isn't what someone says they experienced inside their own head. It's the fruits. It's how that realization actually shows up in their life, in their actions, in how they treat people. Which leaves us with this final big question to think about. If the fruits of the practice are what really count, then maybe the final test of any inner transformation isn't some feeling or state we achieve, but how we translate that into compassion and service out in the world. So there you have it, a quick look at the unique synthesis of Dr. Daniel P. Brown, a practical, relational, and incredibly effective GPS for the mind.